Welcome back, guys. Welcome back to the stream. I know it's been a minute. How y'all doing? Happy 4th of July. Happy birthday to America. You know what I'm saying? I got my American colors in the background. I got red, I got this white light, and I got blue on that side. So we're being very we're feeling very like a patriot today. But that's not why we're here. Today we are here because if you guys didn't know, I released a brand new track called GEARLOCK last Friday. And you guys have been so wonderful supporting the track that I wanted to do a track breakdown so I can show you guys the project file and kind of go over what was all going on in this project. A few streams ago, I think I started this track on here and it didn't have a name yet. I think I did like half the track. I don't remember what stream it was, but yeah, at least if there's, I'll probably go back to my YouTube and find the stream and then edit it saying like, Gearlock first time making it or something like that. I don't know. But there is a stream that I made Gearlock at least half of the song. So you guys can check that out as well. But if you guys didn't know, this is the song that you guys are listening to. That's the song. So that was Gearlock just now. And we're gonna go over it. I already have Logic open. We are already ready. So this is one of my favorite tracks so far. It's one of my heaviest too. Um, but yeah, let's head over to Logic real quick. Boom. Here we are. So this is the whole entire project file. We got 61 tracks, really 60 tracks, not including the master channel. Um, so 60 channels, very simple, nothing too crazy. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go over it section by section, and we're gonna play a section, and I'm gonna tell you what's all going on in that section, then go and play another section, and so on and so forth. If you guys are not familiar with how I do track walkthroughs, and I might, if there's I might try my best to recreate a sound if it sounds really cool. To the best of my abilities, I have to like see exactly what I did. But yeah, let's just go ahead and get started, man. I'm super excited. By the way, before you guys watch this, if you haven't seen or not seen, if you haven't heard my track Gearlock, go listen to it first. So listen to the track first and then come back and watch this. And if this will be up on my YouTube channel, so you can go back and watch the replay and see exactly what's going on here. But anyway, enough of that. Let's get started. All right, so let's get started here. We got this sound here. Let me take off the loop so we can really focus. So obviously I have my I believe this is a magic dust. Yes, maybe, maybe not. I don't know, but I think this is magic dust. So we got magic dust here. Just random notes. I love this sound. I have used it in a lot of my recent songs, especially unreleased ones. I've already went over it a lot of times in walkthroughs, but I'll do it again. All it is, we just have Serum with a simple sine wave, and that's it. This is just going to be our input sound, and then everything else. will be the shaping of the sound design. M transformer, if we go ahead and just kind of mute all that stuff. We got M Transformer from Melda Production. This is a really cool plugin where you can kind of transform any sound to any of these modes that we have here. You can robotify them, use tape stopper, frequency shaping, freeze a sound. You can add a chorus to it. If you have vocals, you can shape your vocals. But there's this one just called Transformer here. And there is these knobs here. We have a spectral knob here that turns a sound, like a simple sound, into this spectral goop. Really honing in, if you can see on the spectrogram down here, it's really isolating all of the noise that's in the frequency range and really just focusing on like the very sharp resonant peaks of the sound, and really just focusing on that. So, and then we add a little bit of a frequency shifter going down -5 kilohertz using kilohertz frequency shifter. The reason I went down -5, so it can really like isolate all the other sounds and really just focuses on like the really, really tiny sounds. So the next thing there's not really a specific pitch with this sound. So we need to give it some tone, some tonal sound. Here's where resonator comes in. There is a little bit of tone going on in there, not a whole lot, but you can hear some of the resonant peaks have like some tonality happening. This is going to be an I believe I have it on E minor, um, chorus, chord right here with a little bit of color and a little bit of decay. So, and then I love this combination of combining resonator with Synth Audio's chroma. And this is where we just have all of the notes here. Now we're having some tone. We're getting a lot of tone here. And then Chromoverb to make it sound more luscious. In Chromoverb, I turned the dry all the way down to 0, so those initial transient hits are just not there. All you hear is the 100% wet and a 50-second decay. So it's like a smearing sound instead of like these little transient hits. Add some soothe because we have some really, really harsh frequencies. And then what I do is I create like a band pass filter, and then this I believe automates it, brings back the high mids towards the end. So it gives it that kind of background texture, background flair to it. And over time, the automation, it opens up the filter a little bit more. So that's Magic Dust. I've went over this particular sound a few times in some of my walkthroughs. So, and then we have this Supersaw thing, which is a Supersaw I made in Serum 2. I have to update it. But yeah, Serum 2, this is a Supersaw from my Serum 2 preset pack that I'm currently working on. I have like over 100 presets for sure, 100 over, I think over 120 presets so far. But this is initially a Supersaw version 2 from the original Supersaw that I made in Serum 2. It was all the way down here. So there's Supersaw and then there's Supersaw 2. And all this is, it's like a pluck version of a Supersaw to create like those very plucky um situations. And then we have the high frequency cut out right here, and then it stays a little stagnant around the 800 hertz era, and then it goes back up towards the third towards the the third I want to say the third quarter, the last third of the sequence here, and it goes back up. It goes up to around 6,000 hertz. So it's like very quiet, then it kind of stays right here, then it opens back up right here. So it's just very quiet, and it kind of opens up a little bit, and then it, same thing. So and then what is introduced is another supersaw, but this one is kind of like creating like melody. So they sound together. These are opening up. Very ominous and very like, creeping up on you. So, yeah. So that's my little. Then we are introduced with this drone bass. A little bit of portamento time for pitch glide. Saw wave without a fundamental with a sub, and nothing in the effects here. So this is just a very basic sound, very easy to make. Before I get into this, I wanted to talk about this Cinema Toms situation here. So this is not like a contact library or anything like that. This is actually a Cinema Toms uh Logic preset, Logic patch that I made a while ago. It's really a sampler. It's a sample of a Cinema Tom. It's a TS hanger drum kick to impact wave sample that I kind of like created some dynamics so it has like those softer hits. And then when I press the keys harder, it gets louder. So I kind of wrote like this little cinematic kind of like something like that with some OTT just to brighten it up and give it a little bit more oomph. Um so then we got some percussion work here. I got some Foley. I believe this is Disciples I think this is Shark's color base Foley kitchen uh metal sword. But what happened is I like took a bunch of samples and I made it and I kind of combined it together to make this one little audio thing. And then on top of that, we have some Virtual Riot samples here. We got some tops that are just kind of playing. Then I have my hi-hat, my hip hop hi-hat. The hi-hats are really easy to make. I mean, it's really just white noise going. It's white noise. I use ARP white. Pitch all the way to like 75%. I use LFO1 to modulate the volume or level of the noise oscillator, and I created like this very plucky curve going at 1/16 notes, and I have envelope 2 that's modulating from I think 30-second notes down to 16. So this is the curve. So up here is like 30-second, and then it goes down to 16th notes. So it creates like a, without having to go through the process of like manually hitting the keys to get the rhythm you want, you can just kind of like create it like that. And then little EQ work, we got rid of the low end and boosted the high shelf. With a comb filter, all combs in the miscellaneous section, with the frequency somewhere around like 120 to 140. That's like the sweet spot I found. And we have a resonance up to like 60% to give it like that very metallic kind of texture, just a little bit. And then with some post processing, I got a transient shaper here to really make that transient hit really hard. And we got a frequency shifter going up um, some hertz, and then we have a EQ that's just doing a band pass on the mid highs situation, and then we have another EQ that's kind of doing the same thing. So, and you can kind of like change the shape of the overall hi-hat to make it more brighter, to make it shorter, to make it longer. You can even take the hi-hat preset and make it into cymbals too, by just making the time longer and making the curve a little bit more, not too thin but a bit thicker, so it has like a tss, 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 you know. And obviously playing around with the comb filter, making the resonance a little bit higher than 60%. You can probably go as high as like 70 or 80% to really have that metallic ring come out. Just to show you in demonstration here, I'm just gonna bypass this and we'll go like quarter note. Or no, let's do half notes. So if we bend this curve just a little bit more, so it's starting to sound a little bit like the cymbals, and you can mess with the comb. And that's how you can, if I turn off the frequency, that sounds like a crash. That can be your cymbals. So yeah, you can just make some minor changes like that to create like your cymbals and all your top percussions and stuff like that. And then obviously down here we have our drums, we have our kick and our snare. So that's all of our little percussion work. So and this is our little build up. Okay, not much is going on in the build up. Let's talk about these basses down here. Let's talk about them. Where did these basses come from? They actually came from this. Let me go down an octave because that's too high. I believe, wait. Yeah, that's 0. Okay, great. So this is a Serum 2 bass generator that I made. Um, there's there's some stuff going on, but it's very random. So what I did was I just kind of created like a uh a 4-bar situation, and I bounced the MIDI to audio, and I got like a few variations. Like I had this variation and then I had another one down here. and then I just kind of like blended the two together to create like this little sequence pattern. But anyway, in this Serum 2 patch, because a lot going on. I have a water razor wavetable. This is from the Vital Tables pack. And then I have a bleep fade wavetable, which is from the subscribers pack from, I want to say, Vitals as well. Is this Vital too? I think this is also Vital. Yeah, because I don't think it was Faceplant. So we got the subscribers pack here as well. And just completely maxed out in terms of saturation on both tables. We got a sine fold, a warp mode, and a bend minus, and a sine fold and a sync with no window on this wavetable. This is on +1 octave. They're both in have two voice detune unison. Um, and then we have a spectral wavetable with one of Virtual Riot's drum rim metallic shots. I think this is one shots to give it like that metallical high end a little bit, with a detune plus and minus and a spread plus and minus in the spectral section. Scan at 0%. Um, Sub here, and then filter 1 and filter 2 is on. We have LFO 1 modulating the level and wavetable position for oscillator B and the wavetable position of oscillator A. We have LFO 2 modulating something that I can't see from this screen, but if I go to the matrix, it's modulating the chorus pitch. Oh, the chorus pitch in oscillator A. We have LFO 3 that's modulating the cutoff filter here for filter 1. So, and then, oh, we have more. LFO 4, this is modulating, okay, I think LFO 4, what's it modulating? It's modulating something. Oh, wow, I have a lot of modulations. Filter 2's frequency. So this is right here. Yeah, LFO 4 is modulating the cutoff for filter 2. We have LFO 5, which is modulating the main tuning. So this is creating like the sharp, stabby kind of situation. Like that. Now, notice in this matrix here, we have a lot of note on random discrete for the source here. So there's a lot of stuff that is being randomized with this. So if we go through it, we have note on random discrete, and they're all fully at 100% except for these two and this one and these two. So the first one, full 100% unipolar on oscillator A's wavetable position. So if you guys don't know what note on random is basically when you modulate, say, the note on random. Hi, I recently tried Tear Out Dubstep. Can you give me some feedback? I can give you feedback at the end of the walkthrough, but I got to get through the walkthrough. But hey, welcome back, by the way. But if you guys don't know what note on random is, it's basically when you modulate a specific parameter in your sound and it randomizes depending on the range of the modulation. Now with Serum 2, they just created a new type of note on random called note on random discrete, which basically means when you modulate on a parameter, it just, every time you press a note, it just randomizes, you know, regardless, and you can change the amount of randomization. So I have this on 100% on oscillator A wavetable right here. We have another note on random on oscillator B's wavetable. We have a note on random discrete on oscillator B's warp 2. So that would be this one, the sync. We got a discrete on this one right here, LFO 4's rate. We have one on LFO 3's rate. We have one on, LFO bus 1. We have one on, and these are bipolar modulations. We have one on bus 2. We have one on oscillator C's warp 2, and then we have one on oscillator C warp. So when you create all these, and then of course we have these effects sections here. With this particular bass generator, we have distortion with soft clip on and drive all the way up, but the mix at like somewhere between 40 to 50%, depending on your taste. We have a reverb, plate mode, size all the way down, width all the way up, mix up about 20 something percent, just a little bit of a metallic tail. We have an equalizer, a little cutoff in the low end, preserving the mids and mid highs, and then boosting the high shelf. We have another equalizer that just boosts the mids a little bit around the 800 frequency range. And then we have a compressor, a multi-band compressor. So when I press a key, if I just press it and I press it again, press it again, press it again, I get different results of these wonky basses. And this is like good practice to like create bass generators, especially nowadays in 2025, where music production is evolving faster and faster. So now we're kind of like in this weird space where we're trying to like create generators so we can create our best ideas in the most shortest amount of time without having to actively just create a bass patch and then create like 10 channels of different iterations of that bass patch. You can just press and hold a note, press a hold note again, and then you can create like MIDI sequences and then bounce the MIDI into audio. And you can bounce it as many times as you want, and you'll just get different results every time. So, and that's like one of the best ways to make drops, at least in my opinion, nowadays, because it keeps the ideas fresh. And plus, you have like a plethora of different sounds in your disposal in a matter of seconds. So just in case, like if you want to make a second drop or a third drop with different sounds and different iterations, you can just grab samples from the rendered audio and just kind of plug them in. So anyway, that's a long explanation to tell you that that's how this sound came about. So, and then down here, ooh, voices cracking like hell. Down here we have more cinematom drums work and stuff like that. And then we have this effects siren. This is a new riser, effects siren and riser that I made. Um I have a riser that I used for a very long time, but I felt like I wanted to make like a new one of 2025 version. This one just kind of sounds more chorusy, very more wider. It's just a saw wave with a 15 voice detune unison with reverb, distortion, hard clip distortion, a little bit on the drive, a little bit on the mix, around 50%, multi-band compression and an equalizer to really boost up the high mids and the high shelves. And that's pretty much it. And LFO1 modulating the coarse pitch to give it like that pitch ramp up in the song, in the song, in the sound, and then we have modulating the levels too. So so yeah, that's the siren. My voice is cracking a lot. Why? I don't know. But anyway, that's a new sound that I made. Um all the Foleys and stuff, and then you have like these drums down here that kind of ramps up the excitement. And then we have this drone bass that comes in, but we have the low cut frequency that you know automates from 20 hertz to 655 hertz, which basically means that it's a high pass that's happening over time. So the low frequencies are right here, and then the low frequencies slowly dissipates until it gets to right here. So yeah, let's keep it going. Before we get there, I just want to note, I forgot to note this. I love doing stuff like this because this is like how I'm able to tease like a melodic section, whether it's brief or whether it's a big section that's coming later in the song. So this is like telling you there's going to be some guitar work or there's going to be some melodic something happening at one point. And I love that I can just filter it in. This actually is supposed to be like coming in right there. But it's just like it's like a little tease, a little hint of what's yet to come. So anyway, let me turn this. No, 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 don't do that. All right. All right. We are officially at the first drop. There's not a lot going on here. So even though it sounds like there should be, but there really isn't. So let's start with the first initial bass, which is this guy. So this is fun. So most of these, I would probably say all of these basses are done in Serum 2. So just to give you guys a heads up. Okay, it's in the key of D. All right, so let's take a look here. So we have a square wavetable. I went to simple waves and pick a square. And then we have a sine wave. This acts as our sub. So this is just a sub. So all the attention's right here. So we have a square wave that we gave it a 4-voice unison and detuned it slightly. We also have a bend plus and a asymmetrical plus and minus on the warp here. And we have LFO1 modulating something and LFO2. Okay, my LFO2 is modulating the curve of the bend plus. So this kind of like starts out low and then it kind of, you know, opens up the sound a little bit more. This, I want to say this is affecting a filter. That's what I feel like it is. Yeah. So it's affecting a filter. So if we go to the effects, we have a high-low splitter. Nothing on the lows, but we got some effects happening in the highs. We have distortion. We have overdrive, but we got it like 16 stacked, which I think 18 is the highest. No, 16 is the highest. Okay, we got 16 stacked. We are maxed out on the stacks here. And but a little bit of drive, 30% and 100% of the mix. We have a filter, a band 24 filter. This is what LFO1 is modulating with some resonance and a lot of drive, 60% drive. So it's a really, really growly sound. So I really like this sound. It's very powerful. It's very growly. On top of that, we have a reverb plate to give it some more chorusy and stereo width. And then we have a multi-band compressor. And that's really it. That's the sound. Like if we look in the matrix, it's just LFO 1 and 2. That's really it. It's very simple. And then, you know, for our sub, we have direct out on. We use a sine wave with tube distortion, which is also another type of saturation for the sound. And that's it. That's all there is to it. With that being said, the third-party plugins is just soothe to take out those harsh frequencies. And we have a channel EQ to high pass the sides only, just to make sure that our lows is mono while everything else is stereo, which is our basses and stuff, or our sub. All right, so that's the initial growl to start off the sequence, and then we have this sound. So this sound is pretty much a child preset from what we just saw. Same square, same kind of setup with the effects, except just a little bit more added stuff to give it more uniqueness and kind of create contrast with the bases. So we have a macro here that's controlling the, I want to say, wait, is controlling the rate of LFO1. So it's controlling the rate from like, I believe this is like either a bar. This should be, yeah, a bar to 16th notes. And I think right now we're at 44. I don't know where this is. That might be like quarter notes or half note. I think this quarter notes. But yeah, wavetable same, it's still the same square, same setup. B, this is the same sub. We added an oscillator C. Reason why, because this has a sub, it's a sine wave, but there's no active sub happening because it's being affected by the effects. Notice how main is still on, so it's not direct out. So the effects is controlling it. The equalizer has the sub cut out. So what is this really for? It's really for creating distortion on the high end, because then I introduced white noise, and having white noise, having a sub high pass with distortion in the effects, and then you add white noise on top of it, creates like this nice buzzy top end. My friend Cosmic Fluid, he taught me this trick when he was showing me respaces and creating respaces or buzzy subs. So shout out to him. This is a technique that I apply to most of my basses when I really wanted to like hit heavy and really hit like really buzzy, very gritty and stuff like that. So this is a nice touch to add on top. So yeah, that's the additions in the front here. And then the effects section, the effects is still the same, except this time we added a delay. Um, with it's in normal mode, but it's in milliseconds, so it creates like more of a metallic mode. This should really be in ping pong mode, but it's all right. And then we added more distortion. This time it's just tube distortion, and it's not overly stacked. We have an equalizer that's cutting out the low end, and then we have the multi-band compression at the end. So that is how this sound is made. So there's that sound. We have some more little nuggets here. We have this sound right here. So it's in combination with this sound and this sound, so it goes like this, like that. So what is going on here? Again, same situation. 9 times out of 10 when I make these drops, I'll make a main preset of a bass, and then I will just create multiple channels of that same preset and then ever so slightly tweak certain elements of that sound just for the drop sequence to flow naturally. No sound sounds off or off-putting, or it sounds like it doesn't belong there. They're all uh they're all the same presets from the parent preset, the main preset. So this is the same thing. All this is doing is this is just going at a very fast rate, 30-second notes. Same setup with the oscillator A and B. Same setup with the effects. Um, Oscillator LFO 1 has an extra LFO, and that's the for level, you know, the volume level for oscillator B, but that's the only additional thing. So that's it. Same thing, same situation. And then we have this sound that turns everything around. So this sound came from this sound right here. Now, notice how this is an audio. That's because this particular sound, the main patch, is randomized. So I had to put it in audio. And this was the first iteration that came out, and it just worked out. So this is a whole completely different patch. This isn't from the main patch, from the main base. This is a whole different patch. Reason why I went with a different patch is just to give again more contrast in the drop, make the make the drops sound more interesting, and just hitting you with a new sound that still flowed well with the initial main sound that's going on. So this patch is called FM Screech. um I can't tell you exactly how I made this, but I can try to go over it. So oscillator A, it looks like I started with a sine wave, and then I gave it a bend plus and then an asymmetrical plus and minus with a two voice unison. And then I have obviously a sub, same thing, direct out, tube distortion with white noise that's being affected by filter one. If we go to the effects here, we have just a few effects. We have distortion, tube distortion again. We have our reverb plate mode. We have a low, mids, and high splitter, but really just focusing on the highs and adding a delay, ping pong delay to be specific, on milliseconds with 40 something milliseconds on both the left and right ear. Multiband compression, and then a equalizer that's just cutting out the low end and then just a slight decrease in the top shelf, the high shelf. So if we look into the matrix, I mean, you have LFO1 modulating the oscillator A's wavetable. You have LFO1 also modulating. I say oscillating. I meant modulating wavetable A. You also have LFO1 modulating the filter one's cutoff. LFO2 modulating oscillator A's warp 2, the second one. LFO3 modulating LFO1's rate, and then we have LFO1 modulating the uh, volume level on oscillator B. So that's pretty much it. And if you see here on filter 1, we have a band 24, um, you know, with some resonant peak around 50 something percent, with 40 something percent drive, and some cutoff. Yeah, these are really cool sounds to like put in as fills and stuff like that. These could also be main bass sounds too, just depending on the context. But this is kind of like randomized because there's some sample and hold for LFO3. LFO3, I forgot what was LFO3 modulating again. Hold on. Oh, LFO1's rate. So LFO3 is just modulating LFO1's rate right here. So yeah, so it's just cool because when I create the MIDI and render out as audio, I get like different variations of rates, and I can just kind of cut the audio in whatever rates that I like. So that's what happened here. Moving on. Here's another thing to note. This sound right here, it's a different patch. This is I believe it's a shutter bass. I think it's this one. Yeah. This should be stutter bass, not shutter bass. This is a stutter bass, an FM stutter bass. Same kind of principle with the FM screech bass. We have some wavetables here. We got Crappy Toilet from the Vital patch here. We have Screech FM that I believe is also, it's either from Vital, it's from Faceplant. It's one of the two. And then we have our sub here. Um, no longer a band pass on filter one, but a high 24, high pass filter 24 with distortion on tube mode, tube distortion, equalizer that's cutting out the lows but boosting the high shelf, multi-band compression, and but we create a low pass filter here, low pass 24. And then with oscillator A, we have a tube distortion happening just to really just to really saturate the wavetable, making it sound a little bit louder, a little bit brighter. We also got phase distortion from B here, which B has like the street screech FM wavetable with tube distortion in it, but the level is up, but we have it like just slightly phase distorting it a little bit. And then you have your sub here. Look at all these automations here. Let's go through it. We got LFO1 that's modulating the main tuning, which creates like the, if you hear like the initial hit, you hear like this stabbing motion. That's what that does. We have LFO2 doing the same thing. LFO3 is modulating a wavetable A's position. LFO4 is doing wavetable's B position. LFO5 is modulating LFO1's rate. LFO6 is modulating LFO2's rate. LFO1 is modulating the noise level. LFO2 is modulating the noise level. A lot of LFOs. LFO7 is modulating the effects 4, I believe, the filter. Yes. So, and then LFO8 is modulating the same filter cutoff. So yeah, a lot of LFOs are being used. I didn't go all the way up to 10. So I could have honestly just made these into macros, but hey, that works too. Because if I made them into macros, then I would have like more control in automation if I were to do automation on Logic instead of just in Serum. So yeah, so that's where that sound came from. And then because it's kind of randomized too, um I had to render it out as audio. All right, we have a new sound in here. Two of them actually, but they're layered on top of each other. Let's take a look at this one right here. So this is a fun sound that I made. I have in my arsenal here. FM Screech Bass 3. Same situation, sine wave with bend plus and asymmetrical plus and minus. But now we have a very sharper resonant with the bandpass 24 with cutoff at 330 hertz, drive to around 43%. And then if we look at our effects, we got a lot of effects going on right here. So we got some tube distortion just blasted all the way up in the drive and in the mix. We have reverb in plate mode, same kind of metallic take. We have splitter, low, mid, and high splitter. If we look in the mids here, we have an equalizer that's boosting most of the mid highs right here around the 1700 hertz in the frequency. And then on the highs, we have ping pong delay around 40 something percent milliseconds. I said 40 milliseconds, I should say. And then after that, we have multiband compression, right? Multiband compression. We have a equalizer that takes off the low end and boosts the highs. We have another equalizer that's boosting more of the highs, a little bit of the mid highs too, with also still more of that cutoff on the low end. This filter isn't even on. Actually, I just realized this equalizer isn't even on either. So these are enabled, but or disabled, I should say, but this had a comb filter originally. But this filter has a flanger phase 12 high low pass 6 plus on here with a cutoff around 40 hertz with a resonant of 74%, drive up to 29%, high low pass width at 90%, panning at 50, and then the mix at 60%. And we have a compressor, another multi-band compressor here to kind of like squash it all down. So yeah, like this is a really cool sound. I love it. It's really enjoyable. The LFOs, I mean, you know, kind of the same situation, just a little bit different. And then this is layered. This is the top layer. The bottom layer is this. So together, this is what it sounds like. So let's take a gander at this. This is from this sound. Very like buzzy, kind of Reese bass here. This is back from the apparent preset that we were talking about from the initial first drop, at least the A side of it. So you still got your square, your bend plus, your bend plus, and then your asymmetrical plus minus, whatever. You have your tube distortion sub here, and then we have another sub that's being distorted with white noise. And then the effects is pretty simple. On the high end, we have distortion, filter, reverb, and delay. We also have another distortion, equalizer, and then a multi band compression happening afterwards. Matrix, you know, that's what it looks like if you want to if you want to copy it. I don't want to repeat the same things over and over again. So there's the Matrix if you want to copy it and take a look at it. So yeah, that's where that came from. Very buzzy with a little metallic tail end on the end, which is I really like. So that's going to conclude our first drop. Let's go into, this is more like a chorusy drop. All right, so now we have finally opened up the melodic section. If you remember what I said going into the drop, this little thing right here. Remember, I teased it at the beginning of the first drop, saying that there's going to be like a section that's going to really open this up. So that's what this section came in. This is the melodic part that came in and opened everything up. And I love this section too because it's very powerful. You can feel the power of every sound like coming in, giving it like this very darker but melodic tone just to keep the energy of the track going. Very powerful drums as well. So if we go here, let's start up here. This is my Resurgence keytar that I made for the track, my earlier track Resurgence that came out last year. I love writing melodies like this because it sounds like very cyberpunk, very digital, kind of computerized theme. So it's just very like, it's very cool. It's very futuristic sounding. So then yeah, that's these. They're played out in chords, but there's arpeggiation on them. So I don't have to like physically play every key. Um, and then I believe there's this one too that, oh, so I see what it, so this is the left hand, I believe. This is the left hand, and then this is the right hand of the keytar. So this is playing left hand, the lower notes and stuff like that, and this is the right hand that's playing it. So if I were to unmute these, and then just kind of focus on that. Let's just focus, let's focus on this one. And let's see what this is. Oh, it's the same thing. I think, or maybe they're layered together. Hell, sometimes I don't remember what I did on tracks. So, but I think these are layered together. Yeah. Then if you go down, we have this guy right here. So this is an interesting sound. This is one of those same basses, the parent bass from before, same situation, except this time it's really focused more on the mid range here, the mid highs specifically. Or actually this is just mid range because this it starts at 500 and ends at like 3K. So the mid range here, very focused on that little boost in the 800 range there. Then we have some chromoverb with a short decay, a lot of 64% on the wet, soothe obviously. This is more like a pluck situation. This just kind of gave it tonality to the main melody of this portion of the track. And then obviously you have these little tidbits of basses interweaving between the sequence here. Then we have these. We have this sub right here. What I like to do is I would like to create, this is a sub layer, which is like a very like stabby situation. Same kind of preset, same kind of setup like before, same kind of situation, just very stabby. I like to have like sub layers right here. And then I like to layer the sub layer with a drone bass, but then just cut out the sub and really just focus more on the mid frequency. So then you have like this sound. Reason I like to layer it because drone bass has a very stereo width about it, because subs are very mono. Sub is like just a very mono, very center kind of sound. There's no stereo width in sub. So to give it some stereo width, you could do one of two things. Really and truly, I didn't even have to do this to really like put it together. What I could do is just create, like in Serum 2, I can take one oscillator A, create a clean sub with direct out, and then take oscillator B, create a saw wave, take out the fundamental in the wavetable editor, and then give it however many voices of unison, and then low pass it to give it like that very like that like whatever. I can't do the sound, but you know, give it that very drone bass kind of sound with some stereo width, and then just play it together and there's your drone bass. So but I did it this way because the sub is more aggressive, so it can really complement the drums here. And I like the stabbing motion that comes with it, so that's why I kind of put it together. Another thing that I want to note too is because I layered a drone bass on top of the sub, then there's like this false perception of you hearing low end, but it's not the sub. You're just hearing the drone bass that is imitating what's going on in the sub. But because it's kind of stereo, it creates like stereo width and you know all that stuff. It creates this false pretense of like this very wide sub when it's really just the drone bass with no sub. So this is kind of like a technique I do for the headphone listening experience, but then when you listen to the song, say in your car or on speakers, then you will hear that plus the sub rattling on the low end. So it's also it's like a cool technique for both headphone listeners and speaker listeners as well. So let's move on. Now we're back to the intro. We're halfway into the song, which means that we don't have to over explain a lot of stuff now because every sound that you hear has already happened. So now we're just kind of at a copy paste situation. One thing I want to say before moving on is that the difference between this intro versus the original versus this intro is that now there is this bass. Where is it? Is it this one? No, that's the drone bass. This one. See, now I added this bass from the first drop right here. I added it right here, just like for remnants of the first drop, just kind of like put them in the background, you know, because I really like that sound. So that's the only thing that's added in this intro compared to the very first intro. And I added keytar arpeggiation in this buildup because it's again a remnant or a residue from the chorusy drop section. Drop that bass back again. Rhythm. All right. So now this is the last drop. We got a little switch up going on here. We got a little rhythm section. I love this section. It's very stompy. It's very in your face, punchy. Everything that I love about rhythm music. And I love like I kind of teased like this mono stab. Um, I like doing stuff like that in like the second build-ups to kind of let you know what's gonna happen. Oh. So now we have a whole different bass for this one. Now we have a stabby section. So this is bass stab 14. Very easy to make. Not, I mean, there's a lot going on in the effects section, but not really. Um, so from the first look of the page of the first page of Serum, we have a saw wave, a sine wave, and another sine wave. This sine wave is obviously the sub because it has direct out on, and there's tube distortion. This saw wave is a very mono saw wave. It's at -2 octave with a linear fold that's being modulated somewhere. I don't know where it's being modulated, but maybe with a phase distortion FMing from B situation. And then we have this sine wave that has a +4 octave, and that's it. Let me look at the matrix to see what's being modulated with what. Okay, LFO1 is modulating oscillator C's coarse pitch, which is the sub, so it's giving it that very stabby kind of motion, and then LFO2 is modulating the main tuning, so that's the more of stabbiness. All right, cool. So let's go to the effects section. Oh wait, let's go back to the matrix. Envelope 2. Yeah. Envelope 2 is modulating oscillator A's octave, warp, and level. So yeah, that's where all these is okay, so that's where all this is coming from. We go to the effects section, we got a lot of distortion going on. We start off with Bode, which is a dual frequency shifter plugin. Just giving it a lot of feedback and a lot of blur to give it like that metallic kind of sound, with chorus on here to give it some more stereo imaging. So we got some distortion going on. We have tube distortion, which the drive is almost at 100%. We're at 91% with the mix at 100%. We have sinefold, which is at 14% while the mix is at 100%, just to give it like more of that grittiness in the sound. We also have a equalizer with a low cutoff here. That's pretty much it with that. A soft clip distortion, drive at 100%, mix at 100%. The reason why, like with soft clip, you can turn the drive all the way up 100 without getting any kind of real distortion going on. It's only when you use like tube or diode or anything of that hard clip even to give it like that very distorted top end. Um, Another equalizer that's boosting up the high shelf, and then a multi-band compressor. So yeah, that's pretty much the stab for this little pre-drop situation. And then you're greeted with the same bass. So let's take a look at this. Let's take a look at this high sound right here. I love these kind of somewhat offbeat kind of stab shots here. If we look on Serum 2, guess what? It's the same thing. Stab 14, it's the same preset. Trying to see, nope, the effects is still the same, matrix is still the same. So it's literally this sound. Oh yeah, I took this stabbing section from this MIDI channel here and just made it, all I did is just made it more mono. So it's there is a band pass with the EQ here, but then this EQ is dealing with the sides only, and I think, yeah, I high passed all of this and low pass all of this. So all the sides are gone. It's just the center of the sound that you're listening to, which is the very mono sound. Um, and we got some, you know, chroma verb and soothe. Chroma verb just giving it more stereo width, really accentuating on that metallic sound with a short decay. So, and then we have this sound which has the sub underneath. So this is the lower end here. Same stabby bass from the chorusy section. Bass industrial is what it's called. We got the square, the sign, and the other sign with the white noise, which creates distortion. And then, you know, same kind of setup that we kind of went over like 1,000 times at this point. Y'all can just screenshot it if you want to copy it. Here we are. Just kind of, you know, matrix. That's the matrix with a few stuff disabled. And then this is the front. And if you're wondering how I made this little wavetable here with the square wave, it's just taking a square wave and then I think what I did, what did I do? I add bend plus and this, and it just created like this weird thing right here. This is a really cool uh wave for the wavetable. So yeah, you can make some really dope sounds with that. I think I did a live explaining this. So yeah, so that's the stabbing section. And the small little bases in between is the bases that we already went over. Even the B side, all we did is just added this on top. That's it, to add on top of the bass. And then we have our outro. As the outro fades away. And that is GEARLOCK's track walkthrough. This is a very, very cool track. I'm very much in love with this track. Yeah, there's really nothing to it to make a song like this, because I know that there are producers that like, if there was a producer, probably a well-known producer or whatever, that made a track like this and whatever, they probably would have like over like 150 channels. But You don't have to do that. You can just literally create. It really just comes down to mixing, right? If you can really mix well and mix your sounds well and make them very wholesome and solid sounds, you don't need that many channels. You can just use like I said, this track has 61 channels, including the masters. So yeah, 61 channels, and this is what you get. Some percussion work at the bottom, some basses, and then a few little melodic sections at the top here. So so yeah, that's the end of the track breakdown, the track walkthrough. I hope you guys learned something, or I hope you guys saw that I may have used a technique that you guys probably didn't know. Um Before we end the stream, I want to see if this person is still here, because earlier he had a tear out dubstep track he wanted me to give him some feedback on. If you're still there, let me know. If you're still there, let me know, and you can send me a private SoundCloud link and we can listen to it. So, but I was trying to see if there's anything I missed in this track. I think I covered everything. I'm just stalling at this point. But oh, okay, cool. I wonder what that is. Where is this? Someone sent me a location to go somewhere. Trying to see if this person's still there. If not, then we'll just end the stream. Just switch over for a second. How'd you guys how's your 4th of July morning? I had a parade today. I went to a parade this morning. It was pretty cool. I haven't been to a 4th of July parade since I was a kid. Probably like middle school or maybe high school even. Um, so uh I say as a kid, but like as a teenager or something like that. I think it was the last time I went. Somewhere between there. I didn't care for it for a long time simply because it was just these parade floats and people passing out candies. It's really more children focused. Like kids love it, obviously. Um, Music being played and stuff like that. But this is the first time I've watched a parade for since like years now. Oh. And it was really good. I really enjoyed it. My mom and my stepfather was out there and we had a good time. So there's fireworks happening later on today. So okay, well, this person isn't. I don't think this person's in the live anymore. So, but if you if you're not in the live, or if you do catch the live on the replay or whatever it is, and you still want to send your track, then just send me a private SoundCloud link on my Instagram DMs, and I can give you feedback there. but we gotta go. So let's sign off on something good here. So anyway, thank you guys for joining me on this live, man. I'm really proud of this track. GEARLOCK is available everywhere, all social platforms, all music streaming platforms, SoundCloud, Apple Music, Spotify, you name it. I am currently working on another track that I plan on finishing and releasing sometime, I don't know, next month or the month after that. We don't know. So I have to finish the track first. I'm like halfway done. So we're keeping this heaviness going. So that's your only hint. It's a heavy track too. But I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Happy 4th of July. Y'all stay safe. Y'all don't do anything stupid. Don't get locked up. Don't get any DUIs. I get it. So enjoy the fireworks, eat some good food, spend time with your family, man. And I will see you guys next time, okay? Dane is out. Peace out.